Welcome back, everyone! In my last couple of videos, we explored two intriguing topics. First, the idea that the serpent in the Garden of Eden wasn't actually a snake. And second, that the forbidden fruit wasn't an apple, but possibly a fig. This sparked quite a discussion. Many of you voiced your thoughts, insisting that the apple does indeed represent sex. Well, I've taken your comments to heart, done some research, and today I'm here to address that perspective directly. One serious word of caution before we get into this topic. If you're someone with a fixed mindset, who only believes in what you understand at this very moment, and you're not used to rolling scripture around in your mind until it becomes polished like stones in a tumbler, then this message might challenge you. Remember, none of us has the complete revelation of the entire Bible. Now let's talk about this idea that the apple was really about sex. There's an intriguing theory out there known as the bloodline, or Serpent Seed Theory, that offers a different take on the story of Eve and her offspring. Here's a simplified version. The theory suggests that when Eve was tempted by Satan to eat from the tree of knowledge, the forbidden knowledge was actually related to human sexuality. After she ate of the tree, her eyes were opened to this new understanding, and she then shared it with Adam. With this newfound knowledge, they became sexually active and began having children. The theory takes a bold turn, claiming that Satan, appearing to Eve as an angel of light, perhaps even masquerading as Christ, seduced her into having sexual relations. This is where the concept of twinning comes into play, a rare phenomenon where a woman can conceive twins from two different fathers if she has relations with two men within a few days of each other. According to this theory, Eve could have conceived twins, with Cain being fathered by Satan and Abel by Adam. Proponents of this theory argue that the descendants of Cain, who are considered part of this serpent seed, are responsible for much of the world's evil. The proof text. The theory often refers to Genesis chapter 3, verse 13, where Eve says, "The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat." The Hebrew word for beguiled here is nasha, which can mean to lead astray, delude, or seduce. Supporters of the serpent seed theory latch onto the seduce definition to suggest that Satan had sexual relations with Eve. However, in most translations, the word nasha is translated as deceived, with no implication of sexual relations. In the context of Genesis 3, it's clear that Eve is saying Satan tricked her into eating the fruit, with no mention of seduction in a sexual sense. The serpent seed. The theory is also tied to Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, where God says to the serpent, "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers." Those who support the serpent seed theory claim that Cain was the offspring of Satan, fulfilling this prophecy. They believe that the descendants of Cain, known as the Cainites, are still roaming the earth as unbelievers, spreading evil. This theory also proposes that Eve never directly mentioned that she got Cain from Adam. While it's true that only God gives life, which is why Eve said Cain's life came from God, she didn't say Adam was the father. This theory argues that Adam wasn't Cain's father, the serpent was. In this context, the term knowledge is interpreted as sex. The idea is that when Adam knew his wife, two babies were born as twins. But according to this theory, Eve was already pregnant when God judged her, and that pregnancy came from the serpent. Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. "Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception." The theory points out that Eve never claimed Adam as Cain's father. Eve was punished for her conception, but the act of a husband making his wife pregnant isn't a sin. So this theory concludes that it wasn't Adam who made Eve pregnant in Eden. Stating the obvious, When exploring complex theological ideas, it's important to acknowledge some fundamental truths. For instance, Satan is a fallen angel, as noted in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 to 17, Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 11 to 19, and 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14 to 15. Angels, by their nature, do not have a sexual orientation. They aren't male or female. They also lack physical bodies, which are necessary for human reproduction, as stated in Matthew chapter 22, verse 30. At the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven. Even when the New Testament discusses angels leaving their proper place, as in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4 and Jude chapter 6, it refers to their fall alongside Satan, not to any kind of cohabitation with women. Conclusion. When John refers to people as children of the devil in 1 John chapter 3, verse 10 to 13, he is not speaking of biological parentage, but rather of a spiritual connection. Similarly, when Jesus speaks of people as children of the devil in John chapter 8, verse 43 to 47, he is not referring to a biological relationship, but to a spiritual one. To believe that Satan had sexual relations with Eve and that Cain was Satan's son contradicts the clear teachings of Scripture, which identify Adam as Cain's father. While some might argue that the Bible doesn't specifically say Adam was Cain's father, it also never suggests that the devil fathered Cain. In fact, nowhere in the Bible is there any mention of Satan having sexual relations with Eve. The Scriptures clearly state that Adam lay with his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. The phrase, lay with his wife and she became pregnant, clearly indicates that Adam was Cain's father, and that Eve was the mother of both Cain and Abel. Genesis chapter 4, verse 2. The idea that evil entered the world through Eve's supposed sexual relations with Satan goes against what the Scriptures actually teach. The Bible is clear that evil entered the world because Eve ate from the tree of knowledge. Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. When evaluating any theory, there is always a risk of interpreting something in the text that simply isn't there. There's also a danger of going beyond what is written. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 6, and making Scripture say something it doesn't actually mean. As always, we should carefully consider what is being taught, study the topic for ourselves, and test these ideas against Scripture. Acts chapter 17, verse 11, 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. If you found this discussion meaningful, please like and share the video. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Thank you.